Hi, welcome to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how to make a nice warm pot of hot cheesy potato soup. And I like to put meat in mine, so I'm going to show you how to make this huge pot that's big enough for a large family or if you have a bunch of people over. We're going to start with this 5-pound bag of russet potatoes. Now, you don't have to necessarily use russet. You can use like golden potatoes. I use those a lot of times. So it's completely up to you. Just this time I'm using russet. Now, I have the Scotch-Brite Scrubby. This is a stainless steel scrubby, and I'm just going to go ahead and take it out of the package here. This is a brand new scrubby, and I peel my potatoes a little bit different than how most people peel their potatoes. It doesn't bother me if there's still just a little bit of skin on the potatoes. I just don't like a lot of skin like what russets generally have. Now, if you're using golden potatoes, I don't even bother to peel the skin. I just wash my potatoes really well. But with russets, they have that little bit thicker skin on them. So what I do for peeling my potatoes is I just take a stainless steel scrubby. Like I said, this one's from Scotch-Brite. And I just go ahead and wash my potatoes. And you can see that washing your potatoes with a scrubby like that, and like I said, this is the stainless steel scrubby, and I just scrub it and it takes off the majority of the skin. Now, it doesn't take it all off. Like I said, it will still leave just a little bit on there, but it does take off the majority of it. And for making potato soup, that's perfect. I just don't particularly care for using a regular potato peeler. I don't like using those, and I don't really like using a paring knife. I always seem to end up taking off too much of the actual potato itself, and I don't like wasting that much of my potato. Now, I know some of you are probably really proficient at being able to peel potatoes and get the skin just barely off without taking very much potato. That's just not me. So this is really quick and simple. And so this is my trick for peeling potatoes and getting them done really quick. And this way does make it go a lot faster. Now here, let me do this one and I'll actually show you a close-up of what this looks like afterwards. And all you're doing is just scrubbing your potato with your scrubby. There's nothing to it. I like to run it under water. It just keeps it nice and clean. And you don't have a great big pile of potato skins left over. And we have this one almost done. And I do keep a paring knife right next to me here on the counter. So if there's any bad spots or anything that I need to cut off, I go ahead and do that. But otherwise, yeah, this is all I do for peeling my potatoes. Now let me show you this close up here. Well, let me shut this water off a second. And I'll show you this one compared to one that has not been peeled yet. Now right there, well, let me move this bag a second. Okay, there you can see the difference. You can see how it takes off the majority of the peel. It doesn't take off every little speck of it, but it takes off the majority of it. And that is perfect for me. I don't mind having just a little tiny bit. I just don't like the really thick peel, like as if you don't peel the russets at all. Now here they are. They're all scrubbed and ready to go. So I'm just going to grab a paper towel here, and then I can put that on the counter and then set my bowl right on top of it so that the water from the potatoes doesn't make a mess on the counter. And now we're ready to just start cubing our potatoes. All I do is I cut them in half once, put both of the halves laying flat down on my cutting board, cut each of those in half lengthwise, and then cut about 1/2 inch strips all the way down the potato. Just like that. Then you'll have nice uniformed cubed potatoes like that. I'm just going to dump them in my kettle here. And we'll grab us another one. Now, like I said, if there's little spots on it that I don't like, I have my paring knife right here, and I can just go ahead and take out any spots that I don't want. So for me, this was just a really quick and easy way to peel these potatoes. So if you have never tried this before, you may want to try it. You may like this way. Now what I'm doing is I cut my potatoes in thirds, and each one's about a 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to be exact. There's nothing exact about this. And then I just cut them in about 1/2 inch strips all the way down. Just like that. And again, if you see any little spots that you don't want on there, just go ahead and cut that off. And then your diced potatoes are all ready to go in your pan. And this goes really pretty quick doing it this way. If I was peeling potatoes the regular way, I would still be peeling at this point. And instead, I'm already here dicing my potatoes up. So just like that, I think you've got the hang of it. I know that you're probably wondering why I'm even bothering to tell you how to dice potatoes. And I do that just simply because it's not that I don't think most of you know how to dice a potato, but there are some people who watch that don't know or who were never taught. For whatever reason, they may have just been too busy when they were younger with things in school. I know that my kids didn't really want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen with me when they were younger because they were so busy with homework and schooling and all their sports and activities and everything. But now that they're older, now they're kind of, things that I would have just assumed that they picked up watching me do it, they didn't always pick it all up. So I'm assuming there's others of you out there that may not have known this. So there it is for you. If you didn't know how to cut a potato, there you go. You'll have an idea now. And here's my great big kettle that I'm using. This is a kettle like what they would use in a restaurant. My husband bought this for me at Gordon Foods, and he bought this years ago for me. But it's a great big huge kettle, and I love it. It's great for making soups and chilies and everything in. And it's so large that I generally don't have to worry about it overflowing or anything. And here I'll just do this one last potato and show you, and then I'll finish them on their own. You can see how I just cut them all apart in 3 sections each. Then I just leave them lined up and cut all the way down, about a 1/2 inch, right down to the end of the potato. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, so if you don't do it exactly like this, that's perfectly fine. I'm just showing you how I do it. And here's our potatoes, and they're all done and all diced up now. They're in the bottom of our kettle. Now we're just going to grab some onion, and we're going to cut some onion. Now I'm going to use 2 Spanish onions like this, and your Spanish onions are like your sweet onions. And this is about the size of a softball, and I used 2 of them this size to fit with my 5 pounds of potatoes. Now we really like onions, so if you don't like onions as much, maybe only use 1 of them. But we love onions, and it adds a lot of flavor to the potato soup. So that's why I go ahead and use 2 of these, and this is going to make a huge pot. When I make soup, the family likes to show up. Kids like to be able to take some home with them. And so even though this is generally just me and my husband here, I still tend to make a huge pot of soup because I never know who's going to show up and if they're going to want to be taking some home. And I know that everybody wants leftovers for their next days at work. You know, when there's soup to be had, homemade soup to be had and stuff, they don't want to be going out for lunch and stuff at work. They want to be actually taking stuff with them. So, yeah, none of it ever goes to waste around here. Now, I just peeled this potato, and I'm sure, like I said, most of you know how to peel a potato, but if you don't, just cut off both ends and then peel the outer layers after you've cut off both ends of your onion. And I'm using these Dollar Tree cutting boards, which I absolutely love because they can bend, they're lightweight, you can pick them up. I use these for everything. And you can get 2 in a package for only $1 at Dollar Tree. Now, once my onions are all cut, I like to rinse my onions off under cold water before I finish cutting them. It just gets off a lot of that juice right at the ends of your onion that can tend to make you cry. And now I'm just uniformly cutting about 1/4 inch strips all the way down my onions. Just like that. Now, once you have it all the way down, I turn my onion around, and then we're just going to cut from the other direction and do about 1/4 inch strips all the way down this way as well. And once you get about halfway, I just turn my onion around because it's easier to hold the larger part and start cutting 1/4 inch strips from this side. And once you get to that very end part in the center, it's a little bit hard. So if you have a harder time holding that, just go ahead and lay your onion down and finish cutting it while it's laying down. Don't take any chances about possibly cutting yourself. And now they're a nice even size, evenly cut apart. And I realize that they're still in little strips, but as they cook, all those little strips will just come apart. So you don't really have to worry about taking all those strips apart. Now I'll just show you on this other half of onion how I do it, and then I'm not going to show you the other one because I'm sure you're going to get it just fine here. And again, I'm just cutting about 1/4 inch strips all the way down the onion. And once I get halfway, just turn it around and cut from the other direction. That way you're always kind of holding the larger part of the onion instead of trying to hold on to the smaller section. And now just cut 1/4 half-inch strips all the way down going the opposite direction. And there may be a better way of cutting onions. This doesn't mean this is the only way, this is just the way I do it. And like I said, right when you get to this very end part, it gets a little harder. So just, if it is, lay it down, and then you can finish cutting it just like this while it's laying down. And then once that part's done, any pieces that have just fallen off that are larger pieces, I just gather those up and go ahead and finish cutting those ones, just so all your pieces are fairly uniform in size. It just helps everything cook better when everything is about the same size than when you have some pieces that are really large and some pieces that are really small. Let me show you here. Here's what, like, one of the large pieces that are stuck together, but as it cooks, it's just going to come apart like this, and you'll see all the little parts are about the same size. And that's the way it is with each of the pieces down there on the cutting board from the onions, because we're cutting them by 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. So they're all pretty much about the same size. Now there's all of our potatoes and our onions, and they're all set to go here in our pot. Now I like to use smoked sausage in my cheesy potato soup. I know a lot of people don't, and if you don't want any other type of meat, that's perfectly fine, and you can totally skip this step. But we like to have a little meat in ours. So you could use ham, you could use bacon. I'm just using some smoked sausage right here, and this is just something that we really like to use in ours. Now I just take my sausage out and I cut it in half, and then I cut that half in half long ways, and I cut each of those long ways halves in half one more time. Just like that. And now we're just going to kind of turn it just like we did with our potatoes or our onions and just cut it all the way down. That way we're just kind of dicing that sausage to go into our soup. And I think this just adds a lot of flavor into the soup, having the extra meat in there. And again, I'll just show you on this half, and then I do use the whole entire package of the smoked sausage, and this is the family size pack of smoked sausage, and I picked this up at Walmart. Everything that I'm using to make this soup, I picked up at Walmart, so if anybody wanted to recreate it, you can just get everything in one spot, and it would be easy for you. And that's how we do our meat. I won't show you all the rest. Now, all of our meat is all cut up. Now you can see how much this is going to make. This is filling this huge kettle up a lot. This is all the meat, the onion, and the potato in here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab out a couple cans of cream of mushroom soup. And again, this is just Great Value brand that I picked up at Walmart. And this is the really large cans. And I'm going to go ahead and just open these up. This is the family size cans of your mushroom soup. I'm just going to open these up and put both cans right on top of our diced vegetables and meat there. I guess I should scrape this can out here. Let's just get all this and put it right into our pot. Good. Now let me add in this other can. And this comes out really pretty easy, as you can see. And no, this would not pass like Gordon Ramsay's, way of making homemade soup or doing. He would not like this at all, me using cans of mushroom soup. But you know what? I'm all about let's just do it easy, get it done. Now I'm going to add in 1 full can of water. Just 1 can of water, that's all you need. And now the last thing I'm going to add in before I add the cheese is just some salt and pepper. I only use Lowry seasoned salt in it. I don't put any other types of salt, and I don't measure this out, so just salt and pepper to taste, because some people, for health reasons, don't want a lot of salt. Other people like a lot of salt, so just add your salt and pepper to taste. I just have this regular ground pepper, and like I said, this is Lowry seasoned salt. And that is the only spices that I'm going to add to this. And there you can see what we're looking like here. Now the only thing we have left is some cheddar cheese. But we're going to give this a quick stir a second. And I'm just going to grab this big spoon. Now, I used to have a great wooden spoon that was huge that I could stir this with, and I absolutely loved it. But one day I was stirring this and I broke my wooden spoon right in half. So I went and I ordered this metal spoon because I thought, well, this one won't break in half. And it does really well, but man, the back sides of this spoon are so sharp. I need to find a better spoon for stirring this. Now I have this shredded cheddar cheese, and I also got this at Walmart, and I'm going to add in 3.5 cups of cheddar cheese. And that was 2 cups, and here's 1.5 cups. And now we're just going to give it a quick stir one more time here. And that is everything that is going in our soup. We're just going to give this a quick stir. And then all we're going to have to do is do some cooking. Now, I do cook this slowly so that it doesn't burn on the bottom of the pan. If you try and go too fast or too high of heat, you will burn the bottom of it because there's so much in there. So just make sure that you go nice and slow and just let this cook for quite a while. I generally turn it to about medium and I let it kind of start to boil up a little bit, and then once it gets to that point, then I turn it down just a hair and I let it finish cooking. Now, I don't have a lid for this great big huge kettle, so I just use a piece of tin foil and I leave it up a little bit in the back just to vent it out. That way you can pretty much be assured that you're not going to boil over. Now I'm just leaving this, and about a half hour or so later, I'm going to come back and just check, and I'll give it a stir. And it gets much easier to stir as it's been cooking. And you can see it's starting to boil here. It's starting to bubble up. And then I just take and I cook this for about 2.5 hours. And here it is. Now that it's been about 2.5 hours, our soup is completely done. I go back and I stir. While it's cooking, I stir about every half hour, every 45 minutes or so. I come and just give it a good stir. And here it is, our hot cheesy potato soup with a little bit of smoked sausage in it. It smells wonderful. It tastes amazing. I have one daughter who, even the next day, she doesn't even heat it back up. She loves eating this even cold. I prefer it heated up, but that's me. If you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks.